Hello, everyone. I'm Tschanen Brandyberry with Moderator and ABRN, and I'd like to welcome all of you to our Turning Green into ROI webcast. We've partnered with the Automotive Management Institute for today's presentation, which is brought to you by Mitchell and DuPont. One of our missions at Moderator and ABRN is education. We feel there are some areas in the industry that are lacking in training, and we want to help alleviate that. In addition to recognizing the need for training, we also understand that your time is valuable. We work hard to bring you clear, concise information that you can implement in your shops today. Also, support from Mitchell and DuPont make webcasts like today's possible. In addition to providing training through our partnership with AMI, you can earn credit for participating in today's webcast. We have an AMI course completion form available for you to download and fax back to AMI. We'll talk more about that later in the presentation. Going green is something that is mentioned a lot today, but if you can take a few simple steps towards making your business more environmentally sound, it can positively affect your bottom line. Many of your customers look for products in their everyday lives that are green and good for the environment. By taking these steps, many applicable to both our mechanical and collision shop attendees, you can get a return on your investment. Today we have with us Rebecca Kirchdorfer, owner of Downing Street Garage in Denver. She'll lead our presentation. Rebecca has been recognized for her environmental efforts, in addition to being a resource in the Denver area for businesses of all types who are interested in going green, as a 2-year member of the Environmental Leadership Program's Environmental Support Committee. The policies and efforts the shop has implemented have led Downing Street Garage to being named a beta site for the Department of Environmental Health for the City and County of Denver, and a 2010 Colorado Environmental Leadership Program Gold Level designation recipient. Now, before we get started, we would like to get some information from you, and we'd like to see where today's participants are in their green planning. So with our first polling question, we would like to know, how much planning have you done to implement green practices at your collision or repair shop? Please choose one of the answers. First, we have a written environmental program with an environmental policy. We have many practices in place. We have some practices, but we're looking for new ways. Or we have none yet. All right, thank you for all your information. And it looks like just about half of you have some practice in place, but are looking for new ways to implement more green resources in your shop. For those of you who have started and those looking to start, we have some simple ways to do so today. And with that, Rebecca, I'll turn things over to you.
Thanks, Shannon. Hi, first I want to thank everyone on this call today for taking your valuable time to move forward on your environmental path. It's really all about continuous improvement, and we're all on that path. Hopefully I'll share some things with you today that will help you with your next steps in creating your own environmental practices. Here's what I'm going to cover today. Why implement green business practices? What does the green movement mean to you? How green practices can bring dollars to your bottom line? Downing Street Garage's path to environmental stewardship, stakeholder engagement, and finally, resources for your environmental journey. And as you'll see, much of what I'm going to share with you is applicable to both repair shops and to collision shops, and really to any business in any industry. So let's start with why implement green business practices? Why not just keep things status quo? Let's look at some of the external influences that are driving the market and affecting our businesses. One very important external influence is that there's a whole new way of thinking, both on the part of the consumer and on the part of businesses. We're in the midst of a transformation phase, and there are definite market drivers that we need to pay attention to and respond to. Look at what the big dogs are doing. Toyota, Nissan, Chevy, and Ford, to drive the market and to change consumer patterns. They want consumers to buy their hybrid vehicles, and they're making them very desirable, especially as we watch gas prices climb. We're already seeing more and more of these vehicles in our bays and paint booths. There's great information to keep you abreast of all these makes and models at hybridsofamerica.org, where you can sign up for their weekly newsletter. And this resource is listed for you on the resources page on the Motorage and ABRN websites, which I'll tell you about at the end of the webinar. Another external influence is the rise in fuel prices. This influence will also certainly drive the market towards greener vehicles. As far as the way consumers are thinking and putting their money where their values are, we survey our customers regularly via phone and online, and in 2010, 79% of them told us that it matters to them that we are an environmental business. 2 of the questions on our survey in 2010 addressed this. Did you know that Downing Street Garage is an environmentally friendly shop? And does this matter to you when choosing an auto repair shop? And our customers are telling us that it does matter to them. As far as businesses thinking in a new way, Joel McCower and the editors of greenbiz.com have this to say. It isn't easy being green even in a good economy. A dramatic shift is occurring in business. Companies are thinking bigger and longer term about sustainability, a sea change from their otherwise notoriously incremental, short-term mindset. And even during these challenging economic times, many have doubled down on their sustainability activities and commitments. Another external influence is regulation. It's better to be prepared for these legal requirements ahead of time to avoid loss in production due to potential downtime and the possible cost of fines, both a direct hit to the bottom line. So all of these external influences, whether coming from consumers, businesses, or government, indicate a trend towards environmental responsibility that's here to stay. Manufacturers are pushing green products, consumers are pulling green products, and states are requiring green processes. And the smart businesses are paying attention and being proactive in developing their environmental plans. Then there are the internal influences, like energy and resource conservation, which translate into cost savings and running a more productive company. These influences are driving us to develop business processes that will take advantage of running a more efficient company. So green business practices are efficient business practices. We all look for ways to be more efficient with the way we manage our businesses, constantly striving to do more with less, get more billable hours from actual hours worked, save here before we spend there. And green business practices just make sense when it comes to running an efficient business, and I'll give you some specific examples of this later. Another internal influence is conservation of our natural resources. Energy and fuel are prime examples. This environmental concept is becoming important to more and more businesses as well as consumers. And we're all looking for ways to improve energy and fuel conservation, to buy and sell products that are green, and to do business with companies who actively practice environmental stewardship. Energy efficiency isn't only good for the planet, it's good for the bottom line too. When deciding on what to focus your efforts on next, you'll always want to pick the low-hanging fruit first, targeting those improvements in conservation that will have the most impact both on the environment and on your bottom line. So what does the whole green movement mean to you? Why do you care? Is it important because of your children's future? Perhaps environmental stewardship is part of your overall core values. Small business is the engine of this economy, and the core values with which you run your business drive your business forward. They are a reflection of your personality, so include environmental stewardship in your business's core values if this is part of who you are. Do you have written core values so you can easily communicate them to all your stakeholders, your customers, your employees, your vendors, and the community? We have our core values printed on the back of our business card, on our website, in our reception area, and on the agenda that we use for our weekly team meetings. Maybe environmental stewardship is important to you because you're interested in running your business with maximum efficiency, like being energy efficient and choosing products that have less impact on the environment, such as buying your oil and antifreeze in bulk instead of individual bottles. Perhaps it's important to keep your business on the forefront of the sea changes that are coming, planning ahead to save money and time as changes become mandated or regulated. Staying on the cutting edge of market trends is as important as staying on the cutting edge of technology. And all we have to do is watch the commercials on TV to see the trend has arrived. The green movement will be important to some of you who want to be leaders in your industry or in your community. So do what you can and then help others learn what you know. Any or all of these reasons for wanting to be involved in the green movement are good ones, and I'm sure you all have more reasons for investing your valuable time in this webinar. Now let's talk about how green practices can bring dollars to the bottom line. This is where the rubber meets the road. We all want to make sure that we aren't going to make less money because of our interest or passion in the environment. We want to know, how long will it take to recoup my money and start saving money? What's the return on investment, or ROI? While some changes and upgrades will take years to see a positive ROI, I'd like to share some of the ways we've been able to see actual savings in 1 year or less. Let me give you 3 examples of picking the low-hanging fruit. Our waste oil furnace heats our 4-bay area in a 6-bay shop, and it contributes to our green efforts in multiple ways. First and foremost, we're reducing our energy costs by not bringing in the extra energy to heat the 4 bays. Generally, we burn the recycled oil as fast as we generate it, anywhere from 360 to 860 gallons per year, depending on how cold it is. That's 90 to 217 oil changes. In the summer, we have it hauled away by Nebco, a local recycler. And depending on the supply and demand for oil and the price of oil, we either pay to have it hauled away or Nebco pays us for the used oil. Obviously, the savings on energy as well as payment for any used oil that we didn't use in the furnace goes directly to the bottom line. Secondly, the waste oil furnace is helping us reduce our carbon footprint because gasoline isn't consumed to remove the waste oil from our shop and to recycle it. Thirdly, the waste oil furnace allows us to participate in a cradle-to-cradle versus cradle-to-grave product life cycle. Here you see the stages of the cradle-to-grave product cycle. Now, some of you may be thinking of the hazardous waste cradle-to-grave concept, where the generator of hazardous waste is responsible for the waste and its movement is tracked through a series of manifest documents until it reaches disposal. This cradle-to-grave concept is a little different. It's where a product goes from design or acquisition through different stages that end up with disposal in a landfill, and where the product really only has one life cycle. The cradle-to-cradle cycle is one way of looking at the source of new products and new industries that are being identified stemming from the use of products that have already gone through their first life cycle. Cradle-to-cradle thinking, not merely recycling of used products, but rather discovering innovative solutions and business opportunities for those used products, is certainly preferred. Waste oil and oil filter recycling could hold immense value in response to our changing oil needs, as is the case in waste oil commodities businesses. Examples of these opportunities for new cradles are fabrics made from plastic bottles and refined motor oil or bunker oil for ocean-going freighters made from recycled oil. We're creating our own cradle by using the waste oil furnace. The second example of green business practices is a partnership with a local business in which we share a recycled dumpster with an office building across the alley from us. The money spent on the recycle dumpster came from the money we saved from cutting our landfill dumpster pickups in half. So this isn't really adding money to the bottom line, but it didn't cost any more, and we're recycling everything in our shop that we possibly can. At the same time, we created dialogue with another business in our community and shared resources. We're working the value chain with another business that has similar values. My third example of a green business practice will bring money to the bottom line after the first year in the energy saved from the lighting upgrades made over the last year and a half. We changed out all fluorescent light fixtures from T12 bulbs to T8 bulbs, and we retrofitted our metal halide fixtures to more energy-efficient fixtures. The cost to do this was $4,260, and we collected $3,423 in rebates from Xcel Energy, our local energy company, and from the City of Denver, because we participated in a pilot program offered by the City of Denver. Our installer made the rebate process seamless for us. All we had to do was give our signature. Making these improvements had little effect on the bottom line at a total cost of less than $900. But the yearly savings of approximately $600 to $700 in energy costs, and even more when the cost of energy increases, goes towards paying for that cost with the first year of energy savings. So every year afterwards, the $600 to $700 will go directly to the bottom line. And when we consider the maintenance of the upgrade, the T8s that replaced the T12 bulbs will last twice as long with no flickering, so maintenance costs will be decreased for both labor and for product. And we'll have the added benefit of greenhouse gas reductions of over 5,800 tons per year. In addition to these examples and the ways both collision and repair shops can make their businesses green by changing processes in the business, collision shops have some other avenues. One of the main topics in the collision industry's green conversation right now is the transition to waterborne paint. Volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, are being regulated closely now, and there's research negatively linking them to atmospheric changes. Paint manufacturers are addressing this by moving to waterborne from solvent-borne in many ways. Water in the clear coat, water in the base coat, and very high solid clear coats. In some areas, the use of waterborne paints is already a requirement. Currently, shops in 2 districts of California are required to use waterborne and have been since January 1st, 2009. Some in the industry believe New England and mid-Atlantic states will move to waterborne requirements in 2012, followed by Midwest states in 2014, Texas in 2015, and Arizona in 2016. Getting a jump on the changes and planning for them now will save you money when your area requires the move, as well as will help you go green. It starts with looking at what your shop has. Consultant John Shoemaker shared a great process with ABRN to make sure you'll get the best ROI out of your switch. First, audit your shop. Take a good look at your paint booth, compressor, equipment, and layout. You'll need this information along with your shop's processes and training programs down the line. At the same time, you'll need to review maintenance requirements for your booth. Make sure it's working optimally now to save money when you do make the conversion. Check the booth components, air makeup unit heating capability, electronics, filters, and door seals. You'll also want to add fans to increase air circulation, and you can do this by installing ceiling fans, corner fan assemblies, and handheld or stand-mounted blowers. When looking at your air circulation, you need to make sure there's sufficient air quantity to operate handheld blowers, spray guns, and fresh air systems. Waterborne products require a constant, consistent, low humidity air supply. The refrigerated air dryer should be achieving a maximum 38 degrees Fahrenheit dew point. Speaking of spray guns, separate guns will be needed for waterborne paint. Cross-contamination can lead to redos and can damage equipment. It's better to invest in the spray guns now than spend more money replacing them later, possibly losing business. At the same time, separate procedures need to be in place for handling waste and for cleaning equipment for solvent and waterborne gear. Back to the booth, you'll need to inspect your booth-mounted desiccant air dryer system. Most manufacturers recommend a 3-stage filter system: pre-filter, fine filter, and activated charcoal filter. Investing in this will keep your waterborne process efficient and your outcomes high, saving money down the line. Finally, review your standard operating procedures, or SOPs, and keep your employees in the loop. As I'll discuss later, keeping your employees up to date and trained is paramount in getting the whole team on the same page. And starting them on the process earlier can save money in the long run. So whether you're a repair shop or a collision shop or any other business, in this tough economy, being green translates into solid business practices that can actually save you money.
You are right, Rebecca, that these practices can save you money. I want to get some more feedback from our participants here now that you've mentioned Waterborne. Attendees, we would like to know from you, do you use waterborne paint in your collision shop? Yes, we've made the switch is the first option. No, we have not made the switch, but plan to. No, we do not plan on switching until it is required. Or no, we are a mechanical shop. Again, do you use waterborne paint in your collision shop? Thanks, everybody, for answering. It looks like the majority of our participants here are a mechanical shop or perhaps another type of business, but the majority of the collision shops here have made the switch already to waterborne paint. Also, at this time, before I turn it over to Rebecca, I would like to mention that if you're having any trouble seeing or hearing the presentation, please, you can refresh your console by pressing F5. Rebecca, with that, I'll turn things back over to you.
Great, Shannon, thanks. Now let me tell you a little about our path to environmental stewardship. It's really been and continues to be a journey, not a destination. Coincidentally, my grandfather, August Kern, owned the Bealey Garage in Bealey, Missouri. Here you see a receipt from the 20s, a picture of the Bealey Garage, and my grandfather and I in 1951. Grandpa Gus was an authorized Ford dealer, and he and Uncle Phil were the mechanics while Uncle Ed was a body man. So as you see, my roots in the auto industry run deep. The reason I mention this is because my green beginnings really started when, growing up in the 50s and 60s, I saw both of my grandparents as role models for reduce, reuse, and recycle. Some of you might have similar images of your childhood as the ones I'm about to describe, depending on your age. Grandma Kate made quilts from articles of clothing instead of patches purchased at Hobby Lobby. She made soap from used-up cooking lard and gold Christmas tree ornaments from those round, pointy fruit pods from the sugar gum tree in their yard. She made blackberry jam from the berries that Grandpa gathered in the woods behind their house, and Grandpa made bookcases and lamps in his woodworking shop that sat between their house and the garage. It was the perfect model for reduce, reuse, and recycle, especially because we're still using those blankets, bookcases, and lamps. And incidentally, my dad thinks he remembers seeing issues of Motor Age magazine at the Bealey garage. My husband and partner is Douglas Kirchdorfer, and he was both trained as a technician and a body man, another coincidence. He remembers his introduction to environmental business practices when, about 17 years ago, he attended an ASA meeting at which Siegel Oil, a local distributor for a major oil company, gave a presentation on recycling oil filters. He immediately signed up for their program and also began recycling oil, antifreeze, Freon, batteries, and scrap metal too. We were already recycling paper and plastic at home, so recycling at the shop was a natural next step. This slide simply relays various industry and community organizations, and I can't begin to express how important it is to belong to these organizations and attend their functions for the information and partnerships they provide. Then our path to environmental stewardship really got a boost when, during the Democratic National Convention in 2008, I helped coordinate a green seminar for businesses from various industries. It was at that time that I learned about the Colorado Environmental Leadership Program, or the Colorado ELP, which was designated to highlight companies that are making environmental contributions above and beyond compliance. When I heard about this state program, I was determined to be the first independent auto repair shop to reach the gold level of the Environmental Leadership Program, something we did achieve in 2010. And according to Lynette Myers, who's the director of the Colorado ELP program, there's no collision shop at the gold level yet. Just a hint for any Colorado collision shops on this webinar. These partnerships and collaborations that were formed in 2008 aligned me with mentors and coaches who continue to be amazing resources for all of us at Downing Street Garage. So while our path to environmental stewardship ultimately led us down the path of continuous improvement, we really did start with compliance and recycling. Compliance issues are generally related to air pollution control, hazardous materials and waste management, and water quality control. This is true for both repair shops and collision shops, but the issues are somewhat different. The main difference is that body shops have air permitting requirements, whereas repair shops don't. You'll want to know exactly what your city and state laws are, so check with your local and state departments of health and environment. For example, the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment has a 90-plus page workbook on compliance that's available on their website. In addition to the written information local and state departments provide, I've found that the folks in these departments are willing to go above and beyond to help those businesses that are proactive in seeking information about compliance standards. Their services are usually free and confidential, and they'll help you take whatever your next steps might be, not only to be in compliance, but to go beyond compliance. For help understanding and complying with your particular environmental requirements, just Google Small Business Assistance Program with your state tacked on the end of the search. The departments with assistance programs vary depending on the state you're in. Some programs are part of the Department of Public Health and Environment, while others are part of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And I found that they're there to help and have been great resources. So once compliant, we sought and applied for various certifications and awards. And this process really challenged us to develop formal plans, keeping us accountable. It also gave us a framework from which to build our own environmental program. And these certifications, being renewable, help us maintain our program by continuing to provide that framework. Recognition for environmental certifications and awards helped build our brand in the eyes of our stakeholders, and these certifications and awards also instill pride in our employees. The certifications and awards that we applied for were broken into categories that included business management, energy efficiency, water conservation, resource management, and transportation. Most of the award applications had categories that were similar to these and can apply to any business or industry. In the business management category, one very important thing is to get your employees and customers involved in the process to build a culture of sustainability. This can be achieved by educating all stakeholders about your shop's environmental practices and adopting an environmental policy. I'll later share an example of how we went about doing this. Energy efficiency means using less energy to heat and cool buildings and to operate lights, equipment, and machinery without sacrificing productivity or comfort. This category includes things like replacing furnace filters regularly, inspecting air lines for leaks, turning off non-essential lighting and equipment, and replacing incandescent bulbs with compact fluorescent light bulbs, or CFLs. You can also look at cutting back on the cycling of your air compressor to lower your demand rate, making sure not to negatively affect the efficiency of your business. Some things to consider in the water conservation category are stormwater best management practices, like not dumping liquids or materials into stormwater drains, performing maintenance and repairs only where drainage will occur to a sand and oil inceptor so that pollutants don't contaminate stormwater, not washing vehicles outside unless the water is captured for proper disposal, and using only dry cleanup methods to manage spills. Resource management consists of reducing consumption, reusing existing materials, and recycling as the final step. This saves both resources and money. Some examples are, recycling antifreeze, oil filters, oil, batteries, and tires, using an aqueous parts washer and disposing of waste correctly, using refillable spray cans, and using both sides of all printed paper. For the transportation category, examples are adopting an anti-idling policy for employees, customers, vendors, and shop vehicles, unless idling is needed in the repair of a vehicle. Inflate all shop and customer tires to recommended pressure, or consider investing in a nitrogen air machine. You can also provide bus schedules for your customers if you're on a bus line, and you could develop green driving tips and proper vehicle maintenance tips to conserve fuel. We developed our top 10 things to save at the fuel pump and our top 10 tips to extend the life of your vehicle and our why use nitrogen in your tires. And we make these tips available in our reception room and on our website. We've also hosted technician training on hybrid and alternative fuel vehicles whenever possible. Then there's measurement and metrics. And the main thing that I want to communicate here is if you can measure it, you can manage it. And if you can manage it, you can take it to the bottom line. Here's an example that we're in the process of measuring. When we purchased our building, we knew that we wanted to install a waste oil furnace, both to save on energy and to have a positive effect on the environment. And we know we are saving on our energy bills. However, we're just beginning to compare energy bills from before we owned the building to current usage and make comparisons in kilowatt hours to estimate our actual energy savings and the impact on our bottom line. This link to energycap.com provides a free online tool that produces graphs on energy savings, increases or decreases once your energy billing information is entered. This will also be listed on the resources page for this webinar available on the MotorAge and ABRN websites. Now I'd like to talk about stakeholder engagement. The reason stakeholder engagement is critical is because it translates into brand identity, it attracts customers and the right employees, and it drives revenue and the bottom line. We have 4 stakeholder groups: our customers, our employees, our vendors, and the community. While it's true that our customers are foremost in our minds, let me explain some of the things we've done to attract those customers by engagement from 2 of our stakeholder groups, our employees and the community. We all know that hiring and retaining the right employees is a process. Why not include your core values when you recruit, hire, and train? When everyone's on the same page, operating from the same values, people are happier and you'll have a more efficiently run business. This employee efficiency affects the bottom line. Including your core values in your recruiting ads and screening questionnaires allows you to hire with intention, which benefits both owner and potential employee. Include words that reflect your core values in your ads. You could say something like, busy repair or collision shop seeks honest service manager or paint shop manager with great team building and communication skills. Ask questions in your screening questionnaire that reflect your core values. Our screening questionnaire includes the question, what do you do to contribute to your community? And list 2 things you do for the environment. This allows the applicant to get a sense of our culture from the start. When we include environmental stewardship in our training, we increase our employees' engagement because they join us in our journey by offering suggestions and very valuable new ideas. We include our ethics and our environmental policies in our orientation of new employees. We also make environmental training part of our shop's ongoing training plan. This slide shows one employee's notes on some of the activities that the shop engages in and how he rated the impact these activities have on the environment, the community, and our bottom line. This exercise was how we included the whole team in the development of our Environmental Management System, or EMS, plan. They really became engaged. We provided a framework for observation and identification of the activities in our shop that could have an impact on the environment and then asked for their opinions. Determining which activities are significant as far as impact was critical in designing objectives for our EMS plan, and we needed everyone's help in analyzing this. So we took 20 minutes during our weekly 1-hour lunch meeting for about 2 months to have these discussions. When we finished the significant activities exercise, one of our techs asked if they were now going to be included in using this information to help us write the objectives for our annual EMS plan. I was so happy. This was one engaged employee. So to me, being green is an evolving process, but it definitely requires a team moving in the same direction.
Rebecca, I think it's great that you involve your employees like that. For our final polling question today, attendees, could you please tell us if you include environmental questions when hiring or training your employees? The answers are yes, no, or you had not thought about it. Again, when you hire or train employees, do you discuss environmental topics? Also, please remember, while you answer this, We also will be taking questions at the end of this presentation in a few minutes, so submit any that you might have. Now let's take a look at the results. And it shows about half of our attendees today had not really thought about discussing these topics when they hire or train employees. I thank you all for that information, and it's interesting to see. I do wonder how these numbers will change as we go forward. Rebecca, what other ideas do you have to engage stakeholders in this environmental process?
Well, our community is also a very important stakeholder in our business, and we're in constant partnership with our community and want our impact to be positive. This slide shows a list of our community involvement. These are the things we've been involved in, and as a result, we've won awards when we didn't know where the road was taking us. For us, this award recognition has been a way to communicate to the community about our environmental work. This positive recognition drives brand, revenue, and the bottom line. It also elevates the reputation of the auto industry in the communities where we live and work. All of this work that I've told you about can lead your organization to a place where you can compete for these awards, and if you intend on doing the work, why not go for the gold? So your journey will be unique to you and your business's personality. It can be authentically your own. It's all about continuous improvement, so don't be afraid to dive in from where you are. Seek out certifications in your cities and states that will give you roadmaps for your own environmental programs and engage you in valuable partnerships. The resources listed on these last two slides are available from both the Motorage and ABRN websites. Just go to motorage.com/green resources or abrn.com/green resources. There you'll find resources for state environmental certification programs from most states that'll look like this. You'll also find resources for hybrid and alternative fuel vehicles from Hybrids of America, where you can sign up for a weekly newsletter that will keep you current on the marketing of these vehicles. That link is hybridsofamerica.org. You'll find information on getting compliance regulations in your state. Just Google Small Business Assistance Program with your state tacked onto the search. Another resource is one for state and local pollution prevention programs that you can participate in your particular state at p2rx.org. And finally, there's a resource for an online tool that will help you monitor your energy usage from energycap.com. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share all of this information with you. I really appreciate businesses that truly want to make a difference. And if we all do that, we can turn green business practices into solid business practices. We'll have a positive effect on the value of our businesses, as well as a positive effect on our home called Earth. You can contact me at r@DowningStreetGarage.com, and I'll be happy to help you in any way that I can.
Rebecca, thank you so much for all of that valuable information. I know we covered a lot of ground in a short period of time today. We will have an archived version of this presentation available at both motorage.com/green resources and at abrn.com/green resources. Also on those pages, you will find the course completion form to fill out and fax back to AMI to earn credit for attending today's webcast. Now I'm sure that there are questions from our attendees, so let's take a few minutes here and we will answer some of them. Rebecca, one of the first questions that we have says, I am surprised that you would burn used oil and use it as an environmental solution. Aren't you releasing carbon dioxide into the air? And would it not be counterproductive if you had moved to waterborne paint? Any comments are appreciated.
Well, we are not a collision shop, so we're not making the choice between solvent or waterborne paints. And, I don't know the answer to your question about the CO2. I can certainly find that out, but I do know that we have made sure that what we are releasing is in compliance. We've worked with the City of Denver on that. So I think I just need to get back with you more specifically on your question about CO2.
Great. And to our attendees, any information that we need to follow up with you on, we will do so. We have another question, Rebecca, about renewable lubricants. One of our attendees would like to know if you use renewable lubricants, such as motor oil, at your shop. If you do, does it work the same as the normal motor oil that is used today?
What do you mean by renewable lubricants? Are you talking about synthetic lubricants, synthetic oil?
I'm not sure if what the attendee means by that.
Renewable. I'm not either. So
we can find out more information, okay. And to that attendee, we definitely will get back with you on that information. One other question that was submitted has to do with your speaking of using nitrogen to fill your shop and customer vehicles' tires with air. This attendee would like to know what is the cost of a nitrogen setup, and what do you charge the customer for the service?
I can't remember the exact cost of the setup or the equipment. I have a feeling that it was less than $1,000. We charge the customer, I believe it's $29 to put nitrogen in all 4 tires, and then from that point forward, we do it at no cost to them. In other words, if they, get a flat tire and they have to return to us to put nitrogen in, to refill their tire with nitrogen because when they were out, they had their tire filled with something else, with regular air, then we do that at no charge. So it's a one-time charge.
That's some good information for them.
I think that we did make our money back on that investment probably at least within the first year.
Well, that's a good time frame, I think. We have another question here, Rebecca, from an attendee. He wants to know, are there any existing or potential tax benefits for green changes in a repair shop? Do you know that? And if so, do you know if they are retroactive?
So, Shannon, tell me the question again.
Are there any existing or potential tax benefits for green changes in a repair shop?
I have not experienced that myself. The one thing that I would say is that because of the money, the stimulus money that is available, there are definite benefits to seeking out rebate programs and pilot programs through the cities that you're in. But as far as tax benefits, I do believe that there are some tax benefits related possibly to solar panels, but again, I don't have experience with that. So we'd have to get back with that on that question as well.
That's fine. We can follow up. One other question wants to know about your experience. How many years have you been working on implementing green practices, and how much time does it take?
Well, I think the number of years really pretty much intensified since 2008. And I would liken it to if any of the businesses have put together cost containment programs for their workers' comp insurance, that will give you a little bit of an idea of maybe what it would take to put together a program or an environmental plan. So it'll vary depending on how much time and energy you have and you can give to it. And it also is cyclical for me. It's not, it is consistent, but there's more time that I develop to it during certain times of the year.
Okay. Sounds like you're really dedicated, throughout the year keeping an eye on this. Another attendee has written in and wants to know, what do you do with the gray water in your shop?
The gray water, you're talking about going to the storm water or going to our sand and oil inceptor. Are you talking about the water that we use when washing vehicles?
I would think so.
Okay. So we have a grate on the outside of our shop, and we wash all of our vehicles or spray off engines, anything like that, on top of or on the slope that is on top of that grate so that all of the water flows into the sand and oil receptor.
Okay. And to that attendee, if you would like more specific information on something else, please submit another question and we can discuss that further. Rebecca, at the beginning we mentioned that you were a beta site for the City of Denver, and an attendee has written in. They want to know what you mean by being a beta site for the city.
The City of Denver has 29 departments, and all of them moved to developing environmental management system plans. And as they were completing that process, they determined that they wanted to help businesses in the City of Denver with writing their own environmental management system plans. I had gotten estimates from consultants ranging anywhere from $3,000 to $13,000 to help us do that. And the City of Denver offered to help us do that and provide their resources and their knowledge to help us do that at no cost, as long as we were also helping them kind of come up with a template that could be used in future businesses. So we really enjoyed that process. It did take quite a bit of work. Last summer is when we went through that process, but like I said, it has really helped to provide a framework for us for future planning.
Another question here. Do you use reusable seat protection or reusable floor mats? Do you have a source for those if you do?
No, we don't, but I think it's a great idea. So I know that we try to reuse those items, although they are not what you'd call washable. So I know that in some cases you have to really measure the pros and cons of using the water and the detergent in reusable floor and seat covers or rags or any of those types of items in the shop, and look at measuring the impact on the environment, whether you're using the paper and then throwing it away, or whether you're using fabric that you are then having to wash. It's something that we have not sat down and, put a spreadsheet together on and really measured.
Okay. One other little piece, going back to an earlier question about renewable lubricants. I believe after doing some looking that they were speaking of oil that is made from recycled motor oil. And Rebecca, I don't believe that you currently use those at your shop.
No, we do not.
Okay. We have time for just one more question, so see if we can get one more in here from our attendees. Becca, somebody would like to know if there's anything that you do to partner with any of your vendors to create a vendor-shop relationship to go green.
We haven't started really doing that as far as the environmental aspect of our business practices yet. We have started doing that as far as our social responsibility business practices. We perform work on the Habitat for Humanity fleet of vehicles and give them a discount on the labor, and have worked out a relationship with Habitat for Humanity and Havana Auto Parts so that Havana Auto Parts sells the parts to Habitat on their own account at wholesale. So then we don't run those parts through our shop, so when we are working on the Habitat vehicles, we aren't, the cost of the parts are not affecting our profit margins. So we have started partnering with them on some other areas, but it's really been more social responsibility areas. And another area is Young Ameritown, where there is a small auto repair shop that's run by kids in the Denver public school systems and schools around the Denver area. They run a whole town, and the auto shop costs $10,000 a year to sponsor. So I put together a group of industry partners, a couple of other shops, Havana Auto Parts, Zurich Insurance Company, and our workers' comp insurance company, and we all chip in to make sure that that auto repair shop stays in existence. So I think, for me, I would like to see the next step being partnerships in the environmental area with some of those vendors.
Great. Well, we appreciate everybody's time today. We did have one other question about repeating how people can obtain certification and credit for attending today's event. And we have the downloadable course completion form available at motorage.com/green resources and also at abrn.com/green resources. You can download that form and complete it and fax it back to AMI to get your credit for attending today. Also, once we wrap up here, we will get the archived edition available should you like to watch it again or go back and review it with anyone else. Those will be available shortly. And finally, if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact any of us here at MotorAge or at ABRN, or you can contact Rebecca. Thanks again to everyone who attended today's presentation. The questions were great, and I think everybody got a lot of good information to help them start on their green journey. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day at your shop.